The last hunt. Before the human, the crowd screamed from high above the arena. Sharp lights flashed over the sand-covered floor. Steel gates opened with a deep growl. Chains rattled. And then, she entered. Varka, the Unbroken. She walked tall, her armor black and silver, her four-fingered hands curled into claws. Red eyes scanned the arena like a hawk hunting for weakness. The crowd fell quiet when she stopped in the center. No one dared shout her name. On the other side of the arena, a male Dariac rebel was pushed out of a cage. He limped, already wounded, but tried to stand proud. The announcer's voice echoed through the arena speakers. "This is hunt number 199. Varka has never failed. Will she fail today?" The crowd laughed. Varka didn't even blink. Her target took 2 steps, raised a shaking blade, and rushed forward with a cry. It was over in seconds. She dodged left, slammed his ribs with her elbow, and drove her blade into his side. Not deep, just enough to make him drop the sword. She looked into his eyes. He tried to spit on her, but missed. She twisted the blade. He dropped without a sound. The arena roared. Varka pulled her weapon free, wiped the blood on her leg armor, and walked away. The gates opened again. Another victory. Another trophy. She didn't smile. She never did. Deep inside, something was broken, but she didn't know it yet. In the control room above, High Lords of the Galactic Board watched her on a wide screen. One of them leaned back, bored. "She's perfect," he said, "but the audience wants something new." Another one, dressed in blue silk, smiled. "I have just the thing. A human." The others turned to him in silence. "A real one?" one asked. He nodded. "Caught from a failed Earth mission. They say he refused to surrender even when his ship burned. He broke a guard's arm, even under sleep gas." "Put him in," the First Lord said. "Next hunt. Let's see how long he lasts." Varka sat alone in her dark cell. It was large, made of polished black stone, with weapons hanging on the walls. Not that she needed them. Her body was a weapon. Her claws tapped the stone table in front of her. She had no hunger, no thirst, only the feeling that something was wrong. They told her she was a hunter, the best. But lately, the fights felt too easy, the kills felt empty. Her red eyes blinked as the door buzzed open. A drone floated in holding a hologram. "Your next hunt is ready," the drone said. "Your opponent is human." She frowned. "Human? Yes. Male. Strong. Trained. High resistance." Varka stood up slowly. "Send me." The drone backed out. The door closed. In the preparation chamber, guards whispered as they led the human into the cage. He was average height, short brown hair, clothes torn and burned, but his back was straight, his eyes sharp. He looked at Varka as she walked into the opposite side of the arena. Their eyes met across the sand. For a moment, Varka felt something strange. No fear in his gaze. No shaking. No begging. Only calm. The gates slammed shut behind them. The announcer's voice echoed again. And now, the 200th hunt. Varka the Unbroken versus a human. Some laughed. Others leaned forward. They had never seen a human in the arena before. Varka tilted her head. "Do you know who I am?" The human nodded. "They told me. Said you can't be beaten." She moved slowly in a circle, testing, watching. He followed her movement, relaxed, balanced. "You're not afraid?" she asked. "Should I be?" "Yes, but..." Something in her voice didn't sound certain. He smirked. "Then maybe you should be too." Varka paused. That smile, it wasn't mocking. It was curious. The crowd waited. The tension thickened like smoke. Then, Varka struck, fast as lightning. Her claws aimed for his side, but he moved, not back, not away. He stepped forward. He caught her wrist with both hands and used her own momentum to spin her aside. Her feet dragged in the sand. She landed on one knee. The crowd gasped. Varka stood shocked. No one had ever stopped her first strike. The human took a breath. I'm not here to die, and I'm not here to kill you either. She stared at him. What are you here for? She asked. To show you, he said. You're not what they made you. Her claws tightened. Her heart, if she even had one, beat faster. This hunt was going to be different. The first clash. The crowd was still. No one moved. No one cheered. Even the announcer forgot to speak. Varka had been thrown to one knee. For the first time in 200 battles, she hadn't landed. The first blow. For the first time, she'd been stopped. The human didn't press the attack. He didn't run or taunt her. He just stood there, watching her. Calm, like he already knew how this would go. She rose slowly, eyes locked on him. Her body remembered every move of every past fight, but her mind felt different now. This wasn't like the others. He wasn't like the others. Above the arena, the High Lords leaned forward. What just happened? One whispered. She fell, another said. She's never fallen before. How is he still alive? The one in blue silk asked. No one had answers. Not yet. But one thing was clear. They couldn't look away now. Varka circled again, slower this time. She measured his stance, his breathing. He wasn't strong, not like a Tharn beast or a war-forged droid. But there was something in his eyes, something sharp, old. He had the eyes of someone who had lost everything and still stood. Who trained you? She asked without moving her lips too much. No one, he said. Just life. His voice wasn't afraid. It wasn't proud either. It was quiet, but firm. Like a tree standing in the middle of a storm. She lunged again, but this time slower. Testing him, he didn't block. He shifted aside. Her claws sliced air. Then he moved in, grabbed her elbow, and pushed her off balance again. Not to hurt, just to control. Varka spun around, landing with a roll. The crowd still didn't cheer. They were frozen in something stronger than excitement, curiosity. He's not trying to win, a guard whispered in the control room. Then what's he doing? Someone asked. Changing the game, came a soft reply. Varka breathed heavier, now not from pain, not from fear, from confusion. She had killed, crushed, and broken champions from 25 species. She'd faced acid spitters, shapeshifters, and gravity breakers. None had done this. None had looked into her eyes and made her feel like she was the one being hunted. You could have hit me, she said, keeping her eyes sharp. I could have, he replied. Why didn't you? Because I see you. She frowned. You see me? He nodded once. You're not their monster. You're a prisoner. Like me. She blinked. That word. Prisoner. No one had ever called her that. She wasn't a prisoner. She was Varka the Unbroken, the hunter, the storm, the champion. Wasn't she? I choose this, she said. He tilted his head. Do you? His voice was soft but cut deeper than any blade. She roared and charged. This time she moved with full speed, letting instinct take over. 2 steps in, she spun, claws aimed at his chest, but he ducked, rolled under, and slid behind her. Before she could turn, he kicked the back of her leg. Not hard, but enough to drop her to one knee again. Then, he stepped away. She turned with a growl. Her breath fast, her blood hot. Fight me properly, she shouted. No. She froze. You want pain? He asked. You already live in it. Her claws trembled. You want to break something? He said. Then break their lies. She didn't speak. Couldn't. Up above, chaos stirred. He's ruining it, one of the lords barked. Make him fight. We can't, another said. They're both locked in. Auto rules prevent interference now. Then release the beast, the lord in blue silk said coldly. But do it. A silent command was sent. And deep under the arena floor, something massive opened its eyes. The sand trembled. The human felt it first. He turned his head slightly. "They're scared," he said. Varka stood. Her claws curled again. "Of what?" He looked at the gate behind her. "Not us," he said. "Of losing control." Before she could answer, a second gate opened. The ground shook harder, the lights above flickered, and from the dark gate came something heavy and slow, a creature with metal skin and bone armor, 4 eyes, 6 legs, drool thick like oil. Its chains dragged behind it, but not for long. Varka stepped forward, confused. "That's not part of the hunt." The human moved beside her. "Not as an enemy, but as an ally. It is now." She looked at him. "You still think I'm not their monster?" He glanced at her. "No," he said, "but you're not free either." The beast roared. The crowd screamed. The arena shook. Varka stared at the creature. Then she did something no one expected. She turned, not toward the beast, but toward the human, and said, "Fight with me." He nodded once. "Let's show them what happens," he said, "when prey fights back." And together, they ran toward the monster. Blood, chains, and the crowd turned silent. The monster's roar shook the arena walls. Sand lifted in clouds. Chains snapped and rattled. It was no ordinary beast, no part of the scheduled fight. It had 6 eyes, 2 of them glowing red. Metal plates covered its arms, shoulders, and chest. Its breath melted the sand where it landed. "What is that?" the human asked, not taking his eyes off it. Varka's voice was low. "Something they keep in the dark. Something even I was never meant to face." They stood shoulder to shoulder now, not as hunter and prey, but as 2 beings the arena had betrayed. The gates slammed shut behind them. The message was clear. No one leaves. Not alive. Not today. Up in the Lord's box, silence ruled. "This is a mistake," one elder whispered. "That thing obeys no one." "Good," said the High Lord. "Let them die. The crowd loves blood. We'll call it a special twist. But if she survives again, she won't." The monster moved with terrifying speed. 6 legs, 2 arms with claws like war axes. It charged and the ground cracked under its weight. The human didn't flinch. Neither did Varka. "Go left," she said quickly. "Draw its attention. I'll go high." He didn't argue, just ran. The beast saw him first, maybe because he looked weaker. It lunged, the human dove to the side. Claws missed his back by inches. Varka was already in the air, leaping from a broken pillar. She landed on the monster's back, driving her claws into its armored neck. It screamed, loud and shrill. The crowd began to cheer, unsure whether to be afraid or amazed. The human rolled to his feet and grabbed a chain from the sand. It was thick, heavy, stained with old blood. He ran toward the monster's legs. "Hold on," he shouted to Varka. She did. With one strong spin, the human wrapped the chain around the beast's front leg and pulled. The creature stumbled. Varka used that second to strike again, this time deeper. Black blood sprayed from its neck. But then, with a sharp twist, the monster reared back and threw her off. She hit the ground hard. Didn't move. "Varka!" the human yelled. The monster turned toward him. It charged again. This time, the chain in his hands wasn't enough. It snapped from the beast's weight. He jumped away, but not fast enough. The claw sliced across his side. Blood poured from his ribs. He fell to one knee, gasping. The crowd stood now. Even the high lords leaned forward. "Let him die." One whispered, "Let the sand drink his blood." But Varka moved, not fast, yet fast enough. She dragged herself up and threw a broken spear with one hand. It hit the monster in the lower jaw. Not deep. But it bought a second, and that was all she needed. She was up, limping, bleeding, but moving. She reached the human and pulled him behind a pillar. "Still breathing?" she asked. He nodded. "Barely." "Good," she said. "Because we're not done." The monster roared again, searching. It could smell their blood, hear their breath, but it couldn't see them. Varka leaned in close. Its back armor is weak, I saw the cracks. So we hit the back, the human said. Yes, but together this time. He tightened the torn cloth over his side. Pain burned through him, but he stood. Let's end this. They moved fast. No time left for fear. Varka circled left, kicking up dust to blind the creature. The human climbed a fallen beam, staying low, silent. The monster spotted Varka again and charged. Just before it reached her, she jumped aside. It crashed into a wall, shaking the whole arena. As it turned, the human dropped from above, chain in one hand, a sharp bone shard in the other. He stabbed the crack in the monster's back and yanked. The creature screamed. Thrashed. Varka rushed, in leaping and slashing, tearing more armor off its side. Finally, one of its legs buckled. It fell. The crowd was no longer cheering. They were silent, too shocked to clap, too stunned to blink. The two fighters stood above the fallen beast, blood on their hands, sweat on their faces. The human turned to Varka. You still think I'm prey? She shook her head slowly. No, she said. You're something else. What? She stared at him a long moment, then whispered, dangerous. Up in the control room, alarms began to flash. The crowd, look at them. One tech whispered. They're not cheering. They're thinking, another said. The High Lord stood. Cut the feed, he ordered. Sir, I said cut it now. Back in the arena, Varka looked around. They'll come for us next, the human nodded. Let them. A door above them creaked open. Not the main gate. A private one. A shadow stood inside. Tall, armored, watching. Who's that? Varka asked. The human's hand curled into a fist. Trouble. The shadow didn't move, didn't speak, but it dropped something into the arena. A disc. Small. Blinking red. Varka caught it before it hit the ground. She looked at the human. It's a locator. He nodded. Someone wants us to escape. Or someone wants us followed. They looked at the corpse of the monster, then at each other. Neither smiled, neither relaxed, because this wasn't the end. This was just the first turn in a much deeper game. And now the real hunt was beginning. Voices in the walls and a secret older than war. The night inside the arena never truly ended. The lights stayed dim. The air never moved. The walls, thick and ancient, seemed to hum with silence. But now, they were whispering. Varka pressed her ear to the cold stone. Do you hear that? She asked. The human did, but he didn't understand it. Not yet. After the battle with the beast, no guards came, no medics, no cleanup crew, just that disc, still blinking red. They didn't touch it again. Instead, they searched for another way out. There, Varka said, pointing to a narrow vent in the corner wall. It leads away from the arena floor. You sure? The human asked. She nodded. I fought here long enough to know where things shouldn't be. He pulled the grate off with effort. Behind it, darkness and a sharp downward tunnel. They climbed in. The whispers followed. For hours, it seemed, they crawled through twisting metal paths. Sometimes the vent sloped down, sometimes it climbed. Once they passed over moving machinery, giant pistons pumping something deep below. They didn't speak. The walls spoke enough, sometimes in Varka's language, sometimes in one the human didn't recognize, sometimes in his. You shouldn't have lived, the voice said softly. You weren't supposed to survive. He froze. What? Varka asked from behind. Someone just spoke. She listened. The voice was gone. Finally, the vent opened into a wide, cold chamber. It looked like a control room, but old, older than anything above. Dust hung in the air. Machines blinked with forgotten power. Screens showed things they shouldn't. Ancient battles, alien empires, humans fighting in distant galaxies, but none of it made sense. How is this still running? The human asked. This isn't part of the arena, Varka whispered. This is something else. Something from before. They moved through the room slowly. Then they saw it. A wall, carved with symbols, glowing faintly blue. Varka stopped. Her hand touched the stone. These marks, they tell stories, very old ones. Can you read them? She nodded slowly. A little. She read aloud. When the first blood was spilled by human hands, the war began. The human stared. War? Varka kept reading. We tried to erase them, tried to erase Earth, but something always survived. And when they rise again, the chains will break. Silence. The human stepped closer. Erase Earth? Varka's face had gone pale. This place isn't an arena, she said. It's a test ground. He didn't understand. Test for what? She looked at him. Then the lights in the room shifted, flickered, and a voice came from the machines. This time, both of them heard it. Not a whisper. A voice of command. Subject the Myra 57. Human male. Combat survivor. Unauthorized intelligence increase detected. Another light blinked red. Subject Myra 42. Karnai female. Former execution unit. Betrayal protocol triggered. Varka stepped back. They're tracking us. Begin retrieval. Then, the door behind them hissed open. Shadows moved in. Not guards, not soldiers. Machines. Cold. Silver. Shaped like insects with glowing red eyes. Run, Varka said. The human didn't argue. They raced down a dark corridor behind the glowing wall. Alarms began to scream. The machines followed, but didn't chase. They moved with cold precision, cutting off paths. They're pushing us somewhere, the human said. Varka nodded. Herding us. Why? They turned a sharp corner and stopped. A large vault door stood in front of them, sealed shut, no handle. But their disc, the one the shadow had thrown earlier, began to beep faster. The human pulled it out. It glowed, bright white. And suddenly the vault door opened. Inside, another room. But this one felt alive. Blue light pulsed from the ceiling. Floating in the center was a pod. And inside the pod, a woman, human, still, sleeping, or dead. Varka stepped closer. What is this? A voice answered. Not a whisper, a human voice. Female, warm, but it came from nowhere. This is the last memory of Earth, it said. The last protector, stored until the day someone found the truth. The human looked at the pod. She's from Earth? She's from before the fall, the voice said. Before the silence. Varka whispered. They didn't erase your planet. They buried it. The pod began to open. The woman inside took a deep breath and her eyes opened, glowing with white fire. The machines outside stopped moving, as if frozen. What's happening? The human asked. The glowing woman stepped out of the pod. Her voice was strange, like many voices at once. You are the last to survive the trials. The blood you spilled awoke me. Now the truth returns. What truth? He asked. She looked at him and smiled. But it wasn't a soft smile. It was the kind that comes before a war. You were never prey, she said. You were the storm they feared. Then she touched his chest. His wound, the deep cut from the monster's claw, closed. He gasped. Power filled his limbs. His breath steadied. His eyes burned with something new. Varka backed away slowly. What are you becoming? She asked. The woman turned to her. His memory has returned. Your chains will break too, if you wish it. The lights exploded in brightness. The walls shook. The machines began to melt. Above them, alarms echoed through the whole arena city. Someone had awakened something they buried for centuries, and now it was walking free. Her real name was forbidden, and she just spoke it aloud. Varka had never bowed to anyone, not kings, not generals, not even the warlords who trained her. But when the glowing woman stepped out of the ancient pod, something inside Varka bent, not her knees, her spirit. The woman was not human, not anymore, and not just a memory. She was a weapon built from forgotten wars. The machines that once hunted them had melted into piles of smoking metal. The alarms had stopped. The lights had returned to steady white, yet somehow it felt darker now. The glowing woman walked ahead without looking back. The human followed. Varka followed him. "What is your name?" he asked her. She stopped. Her eyes, still glowing with white fire, narrowed. "My name was erased by those who feared it," she said softly. "They thought no one would dare speak it again." Then, without warning, she turned and looked at Varka. "But you knew at once." Varka froze. Her lips parted slightly. And then, in a voice that shook the air, she whispered, "Caliph." The walls cracked, the lights above flickered, and far above them, something in the sky roared like it had just woken from a 1,000-year sleep. The human looked at them both. "What did you just say?" Varka stepped back. "Caliph was a name we were never allowed to speak. On my homeworld, even whispering it could get you executed." "Why?" Caliph smiled. But there was sorrow in it. "Because I broke the treaty between the stars," she said. "I refused to erase humanity." "You're the reason some of us survived," the human asked. Caliph nodded. "I stored your memory, hid your bloodline in the slave pits, passed it on inside shadows. Every time they tried to kill you all, a few of you slipped away. Because I was helping from within the system." The human stared. "You betrayed them." "Yes," she said. "And for that I was locked inside this pod. Buried. Forgotten." Varka interrupted, her voice shaking. "You were not just locked away, Caliph. They rewrote the war records. They made you a myth. They turned your name into a curse." Caliph stepped closer to Varka. "Then why did you remember it?" Varka swallowed hard. "Because my mother whispered it to me once," she said, "and cried when she did." They moved now, out of the vault and into a corridor lit by strange blue fire. They passed old statues, torn banners, and doors that looked like they hadn't opened in centuries. Caliph stopped at one, a tall black door shaped like a sword. She placed her hand on the center. It scanned her and opened with a heavy hiss. Inside was a small room, circular with walls made of mirrors. Each mirror showed a different battlefield. Some showed humans, some showed other species, some showed things that looked like they hadn't evolved yet. But one mirror caught the human's eye. It showed him, but different, older, angrier, his eyes full of pain. He stood in front of a throne made of bone. He was wearing a crown. "What is this?" he asked. "These are possible futures," Caliph answered. "Paths you may take depending on what you do next." "That's me?" he asked. "Yes," she said, "but it's not set in stone." Varka walked slowly to a different mirror. Her hands trembled. She saw herself, standing alone on a ruined planet. Bones around her. Her armor cracked. Her eyes empty. She looked away. "Is this a warning?" she asked. Caliph said nothing. Just then, the entire floor shook. Dust rained from above, and a deep voice echoed through the chamber. Not human. Not machine. Something older. "We have felt your awakening, Caliph. You were warned what would happen. Now, we come." Caliph turned toward the voice, but it came from everywhere. "Who was that?" the human asked. "The creators," she said quietly. "They built the arena, the war systems, the machines, even parts of me." Varka frowned. "You mean the ancients?" Caliph nodded. "They never left. They just moved higher. Above law. Above flesh, another voice spoke, softer but more dangerous. Send down the reapers. The ceiling cracked, black smoke poured down like a liquid. It moved fast, forming tall armored creatures made of shadow and steel. They didn't walk. They glided. One looked at the human and stopped. It leaned close. You are the Echo, it whispered. We feared you. He didn't move. Why? He asked. Because you dreamt of freedom, it said, and we cannot control what dreams. The creature raised a hand, but before it struck, Kalith stepped in front of him. Her body glowed brighter than ever. And then, she spoke her full name, a name so powerful it shattered the mirrors in the room, a name made of thunder and fire and stars. The reapers screamed and vanished. Silence. Smoke cleared. Kalith fell to one knee. Her glow flickered. What did you just do? The human asked. I burned part of my code, she said weakly. I used my real name as a weapon. But why? She looked up. To protect you. He helped her stand. Then we need to leave. Now. But Kalith shook her head. We can't. Why not? She looked toward the center of the chamber and pointed. There, rising from the floor, was a black crown, floating in a field of light. That crown chooses the next memory keeper, she said. If we leave it, the ancients will place it on someone else, someone loyal to them. The human stared at it. He didn't move. If I wear that, he said, what happens to me? Kalith didn't answer, but Varka did. You become the one thing they fear. He put on the crown, and every starship above the arena changed direction. The crown didn't look powerful. It wasn't glowing. It wasn't made of gold, just simple black metal, like it had been pulled from the edge of a dying star. But as the human stepped toward it, the room changed. The walls bent inward. The air got heavier. Varka reached for him, but Kalith stopped her. Don't touch him, Kalith whispered. Why not? Varka asked. Because this choice must be his alone. The crown hovered silently, waiting. The human stood before it. His fingers trembled, but not from fear, from something older than fear destiny. He reached out. His skin brushed the crown's edge. A spark, a jolt. Then, silence. Everything stopped. Even the dust in the air froze. A second passed, then two. Then, the crown snapped onto his head like it had always belonged there. But the human's eyes weren't the same anymore. They glowed, not like Kalith's white flame. His glow was blue fire pulsing like a heartbeat. Kalith stepped back. It's done, she whispered. Above the arena, orbiting ships, mercenary fleets, slave traders, and even patrol units from neutral empires were watching. Some had been watching for years. One captain, an insectoid with long antennae, turned to her screen officer. What just happened down there? She hissed. Energy spike, the officer said. Unknown origin. Then his screen blinked, and something unthinkable appeared. Primary command signal rerouted. New overseer identified. Identity, human. Command class, crown bearer. Ships started, turning, all of them, toward the arena, but not to fire, to kneel. Back inside the chamber, Varka stared at him. Do you feel different? She asked. The human nodded slowly. Yes, he said. I feel them. Who? The ships, the watchers, the arena systems. They're all inside me now, listening. Kalith looked grave. You've become what they never wanted a human to be, she said. What's that? He asked. A decision maker. But then, his face twisted. Wait, he said. Something's wrong. The glow in his eyes flickered. He dropped to one knee, grabbing his head. Varka rushed to him, but Kalith pulled her back again. His mind is under attack, Kalith said. The crown gives him control, but it also gives access to the ancient memories. He's seeing everything at once. How do we stop it? Varka asked. We don't, Kalith said. He has to survive it, or he'll burn. Inside the human's mind, a storm raged. He saw entire civilizations rise and fall in seconds. He saw humanity's true history, erased from the galactic records. He saw why Earth had been isolated, not because they were weak, but because they were too strong. A threat, a race that refused control. He saw humans win battles they were never supposed to survive. And then he saw the ancient pact erase their memory, scatter their bloodlines, make them myths. And it worked. Until now. His eyes snapped open. Blue light burst from the crown. The chamber walls cracked again. Kalith gasped. He made it through. The human stood up, but he didn't speak right away. He was listening. "What is it?" Varka asked. "Someone's coming," he said. "Who?" His face turned cold. "The ones who wrote the pact." Above the arena, a dark hole opened in space. No ship. Just a massive black eye, mechanical and alive. It scanned everything. A voice followed, coming from every speaker on every channel, every ship. "The human has touched the throne. This violates protocol. He must be removed." On the ground, giant metal gates burst open. Ancient machines, taller than buildings, marched forward. Each one bore the sigil of the first architects. Kalith's face went pale. "Those are throne breakers," she said. "They were built for one purpose: kill anyone who wears the crown without permission." Varka drew her blade. "Then we fight." But Kalith didn't move. "We can't kill them," she said. "They're immune to all weapons." Varka looked at the human. "What do we do?" He looked up at the sky, then said, "We stop playing by their rules." He raised a hand, and to everyone's shock, the arena itself started changing. Walls bent outward, towers grew taller, energy shields activated. Ships above began firing, but not at the arena. They fired at the throne breakers because now he was commanding them. Kalith's eyes widened. "You're rewriting the system." "No," he said. "I'm restoring it." But even with the ships firing and machines falling, the eye in space was still watching, and it began lowering itself toward the planet. Varka saw it coming and shouted, "That's not a ship, it's a living command unit." Kalith nodded grimly. "It's the one who erased your kind." The human stared at it, then at the crown in his hand, and made a decision. "Get to cover," he told them. "Why?" Varka asked. "Because I'm about to give it back what it gave, us memory." Kalith understood instantly. "You're going to overload the crown?" He nodded. "Every memory it forced us to forget. Every name, every scream, every broken promise. I'm going to send it all back." Varka stepped forward. "If you do that, you might burn your mind." He looked at her and smiled. "Then let it burn." The sky went white. Every ship stopped moving. Every watcher across the stars froze, and the crown, now glowing hotter than a sun, rose into the air above the human's head. He shouted into the sky, "You erased us." The eye grew brighter. "We saved the galaxy from you." "No," he said. "You saved it from the truth." And with that, he slammed the crown down onto his own head again, but this time, in reverse. It glowed, not blue, but red, memory mode. And then, he sent it all back. Every death, every scream, every forgotten story, every erased face, flooded back into the eye's network. The eye screamed. It shook, and then shattered like glass. Pieces of it rained down from orbit, silent and shining. Varka stared. "You did it." But the human fell to his knees again, blood from his nose, his breathing heavy. He looked up, barely conscious, and said, "Then why does it feel like this was just the first move?" The dead rose, up behind him, and one called him king. The arena was silent. No fire, no gunshots, just silence. Dust floated in the air like falling snow. The black crown lay cracked beside the human's hand. He wasn't moving, not fully, just breathing, slow and weak. His skin was pale, his lips dry, his eyes half open, but he was alive. Barely. Varka dropped to her knees beside him. "Hey, look at me." He didn't answer. She shook him gently. "Nothing." Kalith stood a few feet back, frozen. "His mind is stuck," she whispered. "What do you mean?" Varka asked. He overloaded the crown, forced the full memory of humanity through his own brain. He's somewhere between life and something else. Varka clenched her fists. "So bring him back." Kalith shook her head. "I can't." A soft sound echoed behind them, stone against stone. Varka turned and froze. Something was rising from the shadows. No. Someone. A tall figure in rusted armor, his face hidden behind a cracked visor, his shoulders broad, his movements slow. But he wasn't walking. He was floating an inch off the ground. The old warrior stopped near the human's body. His voice was deep and hollow. He called. Kalith's breath caught. "That armor? It's from the first wave." "First wave of what?" Varka asked. Kalith looked pale. "The first human rebellion." More sounds came. Shuffling, rusted metal, heavy steps. The shadows opened, and more of them walked out. Hundreds, thousands, tattered armor, broken weapons, glowing eyes, all wearing the same crest, a hand reaching toward a broken star. "They're dead," Kalith whispered. "No," Varka said. "They're forgotten." The lead warrior knelt by the human, placed one hand over his heart, then turned to the others, and spoke just one word. "King." The others dropped to one knee, and repeated the word. "King. King. King." The chamber shook, and the human finally opened his eyes. Blue light again, but different. Calm. Focused. He sat up slowly, looking at the army around him. "What is this?" he asked. The lead warrior answered. "We are echoes of your kind." "You're dead?" "Forgotten," the warrior repeated. "But not gone." "Why now?" he asked. "Why come back?" The warrior raised his hand to the broken crown. "Because you remembered us." Kalith stepped forward. "What are you going to do?" she asked. The human stood up fully now, stronger, his voice was clear. "Finish it." Varka looked up. "You mean the war?" He shook his head. "No. The lie." He turned to the ghosts. "You still have strength?" The old soldier nodded. "Enough." The human raised one hand, then rise, and one by one, they began to change. Armor glowed. Blades reformed. Their bodies became solid again. Not alive. Not dead. Something in between, Varka whispered. "He's giving them back their place in time." In orbit, the silence broke. Another signal hit the galaxy's edge. A fleet. Dozens of ships. All dark. All ancient. They had seen what happened. They were coming to erase it. Kalith narrowed her eyes. "Those are the Shapers. The last ones. The ones who created the erasure system." The human looked up. "Good. Let them come." Varka touched his arm. "We're with you." He smiled faintly. "You sure?" "You're our king now," she said. He laughed, just once. "Then let's make this the last memory they ever try to hide." The dead took flight. Ships once shattered rebuilt themselves mid-air. Their ghost army boarded and rose through the clouds like lightning. The human stood at the top of the arena, no longer broken, no longer afraid. Kalith beside him, Varka at his left. As the first missiles came down, he raised one hand, and time bent. The final battle didn't happen in space, not in one place. It happened in memory, in truth, in the systems that once erased them. And this time, the erasure failed because too many voices were speaking, too many names remembered. One Shaper ship sent a final warning. "If you continue this, human, you will break the Great Seal." His answer was simple. "Good." And then, he broke it. At the edge of the galaxy, a golden ring cracked open, and inside it, Not weapons, not soldiers, just Earth, unchanged, untouched, hidden behind a wall of light for thousands of years, still alive, still waiting. Millions of humans stepped forward, confused, waking from a dream they didn't know they were in. And then, they remembered everything. And across space, the signal hit every race, every empire, every record. Humanity restored. Memory unlocked. Long live the king. Varka watched him silently as the stars glowed again. You okay? She asked. He nodded. Just tired. Caliph looked up at the sky. It's done. No, he said. It's begun. She turned to him. Then what now, King of Echoes? He looked down at the broken crown, then picked it up, wore it again, even cracked, and said, Now, we build something better.